Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of It's Related.
I promise.
Yes, you did it. I really love it when we have guests. It's actually, I always say this, and you'll get tired of hearing me say it, but I feel like the philosophy and the foundation of IRIP is when we have diversity of thoughts and voices and stories. And so for me, whenever we have guests, I'm always like, I love it here. So Ruth, you are welcome on the podcast. And we'll get more into Ruth's incredible story as we get into the conversation. But basically, we'll be talking about just what it's like when you start out doing something very innocently and then suddenly and very quietly or over time, it kind of just takes over your life and you kind of start spiraling, to sort of sum it up. But before we get into that, in true IRIP fashion, actually, we should have introduced ourselves. Gosh. My name is Sharon, and I'll be the one leading the conversation today. And on my immediate right
is Ruth. I'm an author.
Yes, Ruth is an author. And of course,
your resident co-host, Jules, aka Jules Ha. Also available on my other podcast. So this is Love, available on Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. Shameless plug.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
So that's us today. And in true IRIP fashion, we're going to start with what's caught our attention today, Julia's favorite segment, because she's prepared.
Today I am.
Today you're prepared.
Nowadays I am.
I love it.
I'm always in shock. I'm like, what?
And we do this all the time.
Okay.
So maybe you can start, Jules. What's caught your attention today? Or recently?
What's caught my attention? This actually happened, I think, last week. So I said I need to save it for the next time we record.
Yeah.
I saw this like a post on IG. You know, these accounts that just post like stuff. I don't know what account it is.
Yeah.
And it had this caption, and it says, "The way y'all talk about people, then go hang out with them is scary. I'm straight, like I'm good." And what did I write here? Pick above, discuss. Pick as in picture above. I put the picture in my notes. And the reason it caught my attention, and I'm going to repeat it, the way y'all talk about people, then go hang out with them is scary. The reason I resonated so much with this is because when I was younger, which to me just feels like the other day, like I had my group of friends, that over 25 gang plus. We were like 6 of us. It's not just the 4 of us, 6, 7, 8, like 8 girls.
In uni.
We were a squad. And I remember when we graduated, and then everyone now goes back to their individual homes, because now we're no longer, we used to also live off campus. That's why we were so close in addition to being in uni together. But now everyone goes to their individual homes. And so I started hanging out with other people, like in between before hanging out with my friends on the weekend. Like I started hanging out with other groups of friends.
Yeah.
And I just was so shocked at the dynamic in other group of friends, female friends, where it's like we're all hanging out. I thought we were girls. And then somebody comes and says, did you see what she did? Or did you see what she said? And I used to be so shocked because I'm like,
that's your friend.
But we can't talk about her and she's not here. Like, see, you tell her or something. Like, I had such standards for friendship. I just could not understand why people in a group would talk about the other person, like in a bad way. Not like,
and that person is part of the same group.
Not like at your babe, we need to talk to Sharon so she can stop, maybe she's doing this too much or maybe she's rude, or that's different. But like actually gossiping, I was just like, this is bizarre. Then, life caught up with me and I found myself in situations where it's like, I don't know. It's like you almost have to either, if you don't engage or like agree or whatever, no one talks to you about these things anymore. Then I realized maybe I'm the one who was in my own space. I don't know what you guys think about this idea of talking to other people, because for me, I used to find it very wrong, but now I'm used to it. That's the main thing actually I wanted to say. I'm used to it. Like I know y'all can be buddy-buddy, but anyone can turn around
and say
some bullshit. Like now for me to actually trust you.
Damn,
before it used to be automatic, like I'll always have your back if somebody's talking about you when you're not there.
Yeah.
Then I realized as the years went like later, after uni. Like the other day too, I was like, yeah.
You mean out here?
You mean is a lie.
Yeah.
We can be sitting here, kumbe you guys were talking shit about me yesterday.
I feel like that is the norm.
I didn't think it was the norm.
Back then, yeah.
So maybe I think it was me. I was the different one.
Right, because those perhaps are not your values.
Yeah, but now I'm not. I think it's now my value. Like it's not my value, gosh. But I'm just saying, like now, I'm not like
quo.
now I'm not like you. We can't do this. She has to be here. Like I used to be such a like no. Like why you guys? Me, I'm telling you, when I started hanging out with other babes, I'm like, guy, you guys, as in, Hadi, I went back to Akinashiko, and I was like, you guys, it's wild out there. It's wild out there. Let's stick together. Let's not make new friends, please. It's wild out there. Yeah.
Wow. I get it. I get it, babe. But it's fun.
Let's not talk about each other, Sharon.
No, let's not, babe.
Let's not. Even you see how we say in romantic relationships, don't go talking about your partner to other people. Like, really, I'm in both. First of all, he doesn't even have money.
I've learned that the hard way.
You can't.
Because also,
because they'll start disrespecting that
person. Exactly.
Then you go back to that person.
And then they're completely disrespected.
And now they cannot even
see and hear what they've had.
Exactly.
That's
so even your friendships.
You have to protect your people.
Because there's a vulnerability that comes in these connections that not other people are supposed to see. It's for you, Sharon, as my friend, to see.
Exactly.
You understand?
Let's make that a value system in our friendship.
Please.
Yeah. Which I think it already is.
If you have a issue, don't go bitch and moan about it to Gloria. Mm-hmm. You think about how you'll address it to me, and you come and tell me, because you'll go bitch and moan, then you'll feel like you've expressed, but then you'll come back to me, but you'll come back to me now with a refined version of what you said.
Right.
But now this person has the bad version.
And that's how they view you.
And that's how they view me.
And like, that's it.
And then now, one day, when people are a bit tipsy, you know what she said about you, first of all?
And that's what always happens. It's after a few glasses of wine, and it's like, oh, shit.
Mimi, I can't, Apana, please.
If I may just add to this conversation, I have seen, besides friendship, even organization break. Because I have a problem with you. I go tell my friend, and then you go tell your friend, and now you see it's almost like he versus they or something like that. So I know it's easy to just like come in and think that's off. But when you get used to something, you're like, oh, that's normal. Exactly. But then I guess as you grow, you're like, no, this is not normal. And now you have to like unlearn that behavior.
Yeah. It's wild. People do have a lot of side chats like, she didn't even invite me for this thing. Even look at her nowadays. You see how she's that's why she's like this. And then Saturday, hi, babe. How are you?
Yeah, that hurts.
So
honestly,
toxic.
that hurts.
It's terrible.
Especially when you learn that's how that's
world,
or your friends view you. You go like, okay, so what was all that? Yeah, it hurts a lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's also very easy for anyone. I know I've caught myself doing that.
For sure. Even like, I think it's easy to get caught into it.
Yeah. It's very easy, especially when you're thinking like, being hard, and you're like, oh, by the way, do you know, stuff like that. Or maybe you're afraid of this person, or you don't want to ruin the relationship or something like that.
Yeah.
So you think by talking to someone else. But that's not healthy. I mean, it has more harm than good. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So what's got your attention, Ruth, lately?
Oh, I think it's this lady who was talking on TikTok or something like that. And she was just sharing her responsibility as a woman.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Risa Tessa.
And she said, in the next life, I'm coming back a tree.
A tree?
Yeah, to just rest and just exist. And I thought that was such realness, because of just how much life is going. There's just so much happening in people's life, and especially when you don't have enough support, and you're just exhausted. And especially if you have children, and you are running a home, you are going to another job and stuff like that, and then you're just like, okay, I want to
come back as a tree.
Yeah, I think that for me was just very, very eye-catching for me, because I am going through some personal issues.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to come back as a tree, but I was just like, Ruth, you are normal. These feelings you have, somebody is validating you.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, a tree is so cool.
Yeah, like it makes sense. Yeah, you just come back and your job is to grow and bloom.
Yes, and give shade to people. You're not working hard.
I love it.
Yeah, and to look pretty, whatever kind of tree you are. So I thought that was such
it's
got
profound. It's actually profound,
Yeah, but it just says people are exhausted out here. Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Well, mine is not. It's kind of profound, but not as profound. But when you said that lady on TikTok, I actually thought you were going to make the point that I was going to make, which is this lady on TikTok who made a 50-part TikTok series about her.
Who Did I Marry?
Yeah, it was called "Who the Fuck Did I Marry?"
Yeah.
And
I haven't watched it, but I saw it on BuzzFeed or something.
do you know? I'm just like the way it has blown up in the world. There's like
Give me an
it's such a
example of
phenomenon.
what she says. What does she say?
So I also haven't watched it because I'm like, I don't have.
okay.
It's 3 hours worth of TikTok videos.
Wow.
Essentially, I think it might even be more. Is it 3.3, 4 hours? But it's like a lot of TikTok videos because TikTok, I think the maximum is 10 minutes. She's done 50 videos, and she did them in like a span of like 3 days. But essentially, what I gather from it is she was married to a pathological liar who was just taking pleasure, from what she says, in building her up, like building these sandcastles in her head and seeing her being happy. But none of it was real, none of it was true. And some people are saying maybe he had a mental health issue, or he's just a pathological liar, or all of them combined, or he's on drugs. But just for me, the thing that really struck me was how everyone resonates with this lady. Because she's just, when I tell you, the most sort of regular Black American person, and I don't think she could have fathomed that this is how the world would react. Like her videos, 50 videos, 17 million views. Like, it's crazy. Everyone is talking about it. Everybody has been sharing, watching it. Like, people have been saying they literally had to take a day off work
to watch.
Because it's on your phone.
Yeah, it's kind of like Dear John. Have you watched Dear John?
I haven't watched Dear John. Is that the Tinder swindler vibes?
God. No. Yes, it has that similar. Like, it wasn't Tinder, but it was like an online dating. Babe, that series, you guys, it's on. I think it's on Netflix now.
Dear John, okay.
Dear John had me on a chokehold for like a whole. I told my mom to watch that thing. She just called me at night. She's like, "Wait, it's 3 o'clock. I must sleep." That series. Dear John.
Dear
it's similar.
John.
So she married somebody who was
like
a
fake
full-on con artist.
Completely.
He said he was a doctor. He met her even. He was homeless.
Oh
He
my
had
God, he was
scrubs.
homeless.
He was addicted to I don't know if it was fentanyl or what, like one of these drugs you inject yourself. Heroin.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Then I think before that he was a lawyer to the previous lady. So all these ladies started coming out. It is wild. And this one was serious.
I feel like this. I mean, I have many worst nightmares, but that is definitely one of my worst nightmares.
Yeah.
Like you realize the person you love and you're married to
is not who they say they are.
And like not even in like you know how we say, oh, he's not who he said he was because he said he'd be. But like for real, he is not who he said he was. Like he was pathologically lying to you.
Go and watch Dear Sam.
Dear John, I'll go.
Dear John. Dear John.
I'll definitely go look for it. So okay, well we've come to the point of the conversation where we segue. That's our word for segue into what is the actual discussion today. And for me, let me give you the backstory of how this conversation came about, because we're going to be talking about sex addiction, and we're specifically going to be talking about porn and masturbation. And I know this is a very sensitive topic for some of you. So even as we're having this conversation, I would implore everybody to just have some sensitivity around what we're discussing. But the way it came about, so I was a journalist at the BBC a couple of years ago, and I worked on the health team, and we were reporting at the time stories in and around Africa that are highly stigmatized. And we did an interview. Ruth and I did an interview. And so more context. So Ruth will be sharing her story and her experience with trying to overcome a sex addiction, and specifically a porn and masturbation addiction, for almost 8 years, or roundabout more than 8 years. And I like what you said earlier, which is you're in active recovery now and a lifetime of maintenance. Exactly. I like that. And so we'll just be unpacking what that looks like because, as I said earlier, sometimes you get into things very innocently and you don't know where that
It's all fun and games.
exactly will take you.
Yeah.
And even I'd love to hear from Jules and even myself. I'll share like how did we experience or first experience or see pornography? Like, how did that come into our lives? Where did we come across it? What are our views on pornography right now and masturbation? So it's a conversation we're having all around. But why I'm so happy Ruth is here is because you can give a first-hand account of what actually happens when it spirals. And then we'll talk more about her book, Love Unlimited. So she's an author. And yeah, it's just going to be a really interesting conversation. I don't even know where to begin because there's a lot. But I guess maybe let's start with right now, knowing everything you know about your journey and how that has gone. And maybe we can go around the table. What's your view on porn and masturbation? Like, let's just start there, get a feel of what everyone thinks about porn and masturbation.
You want to start?
I think everyone wants to hear from our guests.
For sure, at this point, yeah.
So I think I'll say, and I know I may not be very popular, it's very easy to become like bondaged by it. Is that English?
Yeah. Bondaged, yes.
Yeah, it's easy for it to wrap itself around you and control your mind, and that's all you think about. Like, that's what you focus on. That's the lens you see the world with. So it's very easy. And I know it's very popular and it's okay. And I'm not here to tell someone do or do not. I just knew it wasn't healthy for me. And hence the journey to want to quit. But I know how it can take over your life. And that's what you think about. And by that I mean you are scheming how to go watch porn. So how you avoid social
interaction,
gathering and interaction because you have a date with your computer or with So yes, that is the ugliness of it. That I think sometimes we don't know that it can get to that point. Sometimes it's fun, and nobody, like in my own story, I didn't even know what I was doing. Yeah. So I think for me that is the most, I don't want to say even dangerous, but it's one of the effects of my experience with pornography. Yeah.
Right. I feel like for me, so before, there's a video I had seen on this podcast with Angela Yee. She has a podcast called Lip Service, and she had this guest. I think their podcast is about sex and sexual liberation. And there was a guest who came and was saying how watching porn is like opening a gateway into like hell. And she goes on to explain how like it's like you're having sex with a demon. And I was like, whoa, that's so like extreme, because before that, and that was maybe about a year ago that I watched that, and before that, to be honest, I didn't have an issue with porn or even masturbation. Like, I didn't view it as anything bad, but deep down I've always been like, I mean, if you have to do it in secret, then there must be something not okay. But I just thought it's me because, I've been raised very conservative, Christian, but like I had never really thought deeply about masturbation, pornography. Like, I was just like, everyone gets an itch once in a while. You want to watch something, learn some things. Because for me, I think I learned sex through porn, because the sexual education that you would get in school is just, it's like biology. You have sex, you get fertilized, you get pregnant. Like, there is nothing around pleasure. And how do you get pleasure? How do you give pleasure? Like, that I feel like I learned by watching X-rated movies, right? And but there's something that changed when I saw that video of this lady talking about how, watching porn is like having sex with a demon. It stuck with me so much that I struggle to watch X-rated content because that has stuck in my head. Like it has imprinted so deeply that I'm like, it's not that deep. I'd rather not even, So that's kind of where I'm at with, porn, masturbation in this moment. And I think watching porn and masturbating are different things, but because can you masturbate without watching porn? Yeah, I guess you can. But like in terms of pornography, that's kind of where I'm at. Like I don't know that I fully believe it's like having sex with a demon, but someone said that to me and I'm like, if that's the case, even if there's a 1% chance, I'm just like not too comfortable with that. Yeah. So what about you, Jules? What are like your overall views on porn, watching porn, masturbation?
I'm still trying to figure out if it's right or wrong. Just like other prohibited things in life, there's some people who the first time they taste this, or the first time they snort this, or the first time they, I guess, inject this, the first time they watch
They
this,
smoke this, yeah.
for them, their risk factor is so high. There's so many people who watch porn that are not addicted to porn. But like I don't see if porn was removed from the world, if the world would be at a loss for something.
As in?
Like the world is missing something.
Okay.
Like porn needs to come back. Like
Yeah.
I don't, whether it's there or not, I don't think it makes the world a better place. So, but at the same time, I'm not, I'm also very in the mind of, I guess it's adult content. You know what I mean? So where I'm at, all I'm saying is I don't know, or if it's a right or a wrong. My views on it are mixed. I have mixed views. I don't have a definite view.
Yeah.
But I do have a very strong awareness that there's a possibility to be addicted to pornography.
Because of the
especially because you just said, I don't know if you can masturbate without watching pornography. Can you? Anyway, I don't know. And that's a problem, because now what's happening is that people are only self-pleasuring while watching pornography. And it becomes completely synonymous. I mean, like, what's the word? When one depends on the other.
Yeah.
Like you can't
Yeah.
masturbate without watching porn.
Yeah.
And I was having this discussion actually with another guy friend of mine, and he was telling me the problem is that now when he goes to the bedroom, that for you to get off mentally, you have to think about what you watched.
Oh, right.
And it reminded me of a different podcast that I listened to, where this guy did a deep dive into like the porn industry, how it started, da-da-da. And he said one of the craziest things for him, and he was coming from a completely non-judgmental place. He was just presenting the facts as they are. Oh, this is what happens. Oh, people thought that children who were the younger generation, they're watching pornography so early, so they're going to start getting babies so early and STDs. But it turns out the reverse is what happened. The children, there were less reported cases of teenage pregnancy because so many boys and girls were watching porn and not
having sex. Like self-pleasing versus...
Or when they do have sex, the guys are not able to perform because they're expecting what they're seeing on TV. This is literally what the study had shown. I'll try my best to look for that podcast. At least I had that episode like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And he said the craziest thing is that when he went to a set where he went to the set of a porn film. And he said the most bizarre or maybe interesting thing for him was, as a reporter, was that you have this lady, she's like on the bed, and now they're preparing for like a gang bang scene, I guess, like where she's being
multiple partners.
Partners? What are they partners?
Well, yeah, not partners. Multiple actors.
Going to have sex with her. And these guys, she's on the bed, like doing her thing, oh my gosh. And then these men who are getting ready to get into the scene are watching Pornhub to get off, to get into the scene. And the reporter was like, there's a naked woman in front of you doing the stuff you see on porn, but you still need to watch your porn to get off. And that's why he was like, this is where I'm seeing there might be an issue. Because now you. So my views on it are mixed. I think it's dangerous. unfortunately, we don't. Where do people get their education from? Even I learned a lot about sex from porn and friends. So my views are mixed. But more leaning toward if it's not here, I know there's a whole industry dependent on it. But at the same time, I feel like it's more decadent to the mindsets of people than positive.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe Ruth, you can tell us, because I'm sure like our listeners, audience are so curious to know how, when we say spiraling, like before we go to how it all sort of began, but when did you know it was so bad? Your consumption of this content, your consumption of pornography is so bad that you've just got to stop and get help. Like what was happening?
Or maybe you can even take us to the beginning. Like, how did this begin for you?
I think it's when I began lying and not showing up for people. And when they asked me, where were you or what happened, and I have to concoct a story, that's when I was thinking, oh man, I don't think this is the way it's supposed to be. I need to be able to answer where I was and not lie. Yeah. So if I'm having to fabricate a story, then it means I'm not okay with what I'm doing. I'm also not, and I'm not being trustworthy as a person. So I think for me, that's one of the things that led to that. The other is when you know that you go, I'll stop. When I'm like, I can't stop this. And then you realize you can't stop.
Yeah.
Like this is something you do. It's part of your, let's say, week. It's something that you do. The way we have rituals that on Monday I do this, on Tuesday I do this. So it's part of the ritual. And the day you don't do that, it's almost like you're sick, or it's almost like there's something wrong with me. And so I was like, wait, I don't think this is the way it's supposed to go. So I think to go to the beginning, I think it's high school. Let me say high school.
Isn't it always?
So there's the beginning, and then there's the beginning of the beginnings.
Right.
And I'll talk about the beginning of the beginnings. Yeah. But now I'm specifically talking about like my journey of spiraling.
Yes.
So in the beginning, it all started with novels in high school. I read so many novels.
Yeah.
And the more graphic, the romance or the sex or the what have you. Oh, by the way, viewers, sorry for the triggering words. I don't know what to do, but there are words that would trigger people, so just be concerned about that. Maybe it's something we can mention in the beginning. Okay. Some people might find this triggering.
Okay.
So I'm reading all these books. My friends in high school are saying, Ruth, you are the best student, but you failed in the exam because of how much I was reading novels instead of doing what I was doing. And I thought, I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought it was the normal thing to do. And then after that, now I've left high school, and then there's that gap here. And I'm in this village somewhere in Kirinyaga. And I'm home alone for my mom. My siblings are in school or they're somewhere else, but I'm home. My parents go to work every day. They come in the evening. And then, of course, you're like, oh, so what do people do when they're not in school and stuff like that? And you have to realize I went to boarding school from class 4. So I had never had so much free time. I was always, yes. And anyway, so I began nosing around my neighbors' houses. I think that's what you do. And then I remember going to this neighbor and seeing a video cassette. Those days, there were those cassettes.
Yeah.
And I'm going like, oh, I really need to watch this. I really need to watch this.
Did you know that the cassette was...
it had a picture.
Oh, okay.
That suggested, that was suggestive. So I was like, yeah, I really need to do this. So let's say one thing led to another, and I watched, I invited so-and-so. And let me tell you, we didn't even have a video prayer those days, VCR prayer.
Yeah.
So I had to borrow it from the owner's house who didn't have a TV. So
oh my God, it was a whole production.
Yes. And then I had someone else bring the cleaner because it had never,
Wow, you were committed.
Yes.
I remember the video cleaner where you had to put
Yes.
some drops into
Yes.
the tape.
Yes, and then yes, and yes.
Press play. Do you know what that is?
I've definitely heard of it.
She's a bit younger than us. You had a tape and you had a VCR.
Yeah.
But sometimes you needed to clean the VCR.
Yes,
But
yes.
the tape for cleaning
Yes.
was a special one.
Yes.
You had to put a liquid on the
Yes,
nini.
yes, yes.
Wow.
And then you press play until the end.
Yes, but you need to know.
Forward.
But you need to know I had networking skills even then.
Wow.
Because these are 3 different homes. So you bring this, you bring this,
Oh,
then
my
yes, a
days.
party happens. Something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it and going like, oh, I thought it would be more explicit than it was. And so it's almost
And that was
like
your first time watching porn?
Yes.
And it wasn't
As-
explicit enough
yes.
because of the books.
Yes. And then I remember, when you're looking for something, I promise you find it.
You'll find
You
it.
find it.
Yeah.
So one day I go to this house or in my neighborhood somewhere, and I watch now what we call hardcore porn. And there's this shocking, I don't know how to explain, there's this shocking, almost like, I don't know how to explain this, but it just destroys everything I knew about that. Because you see, when I'm reading my books, it's my imagination trying to picture this and stuff like that. But now there's nothing hidden. And I'm just going like, oh my God. And I'm shocked. I'm aroused at the same time. So there are all these mixed feelings happening. And I was like, okay, that happened. So it's almost like there's just a shock factor that I wasn't anticipating.
You mean what you saw on the film is what shocked you?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's the sounds, it's the
okay.
visual, because the sounds actually are worse than even the scene itself. So,
Really?
yes. And if you want to know the difference, put a clip and put off the sound. Nothing happens. It's the sound that is supposed to elicit and evoke the emotion and stuff like that. Anyway, so first of all, I can't believe I've just done that. I've watched this and I'm going like, oh my God. And then I don't know, around that time, that season, I become a Christian. I give my life to Christ. And then I remember I used to watch a soap, or I don't know what we call them now, Beverly Hills, something 901, something like that.
90210?
Yes, that one. And my brother says, oh, Ruth, now you're a Christian, so these things you don't watch. And I go like, and then the hiding starts. So I have double lives.
Wow.
So I know the expectations. Before I didn't know the expectations. And it's almost like, oh, I can't watch this because I'm a Christian. But then I am still very curious. I'm still there's still this driving thing behind the scene.
Yeah.
So I'm going and looking for this, but very secretively, and nobody knew about it. Nobody knew about it.
Wow.
And I promise if I never shared about it, I would still be struggling with that. So, long story short, I'm living with this roommate, and one Sunday, so we're not working in Nairobi, but so every weekend would come to Nairobi, then go back for like on Sunday, and just now do the week, then come back or some stuff like that. And then one Sunday, I asked her, hey, how was your weekend? And she said, oh, I think it was a program called Mizizi, I think. And she said, oh, I went for Mizizi. And then she said many things, but then she said, and the people with sexual issues were prayed for. And something in my heart jumps up, almost like,
Hope. Yeah.
it's almost like hope.
Yeah.
But that statement opened the door that I'd been looking for. Because previously, anything to do with sex was like, it's a sin, it's this, it's this, it's this. And when someone already tells you it's a sin, you feel like there's a blockage. It's almost like you can't talk about this.
Yeah.
At least that's what I was telling myself. So I remember asking her, hey, what do you struggle with? And she gave me a prestigious sin. As far as I'm concerned.
What is a prestigious sin as far as you're concerned?
As far as I'm concerned, I'm going like,
That's not sinning.
I want that. That's something we can talk about. So that day, I remember giving her my journal to read. And in my journal, I had shared about, like I can even read for you just a random page in my journal about my struggle. So I was going like, so I had shared with her about the issue of pornography and masturbation. This, before then, I could not even say I was struggling with pornography. Like, I could not even utter those words. And I know...
Did you know it was a struggle at that point?
For me to start confessing it and telling people, yes. Because I'm like, okay, I'm trying to stop. I'm not able to stop. I don't even know where to go get help for this. And I've never had anybody talk about it. And when they talk about it, it's evil. And
it's men.
And it's men. Yeah. And I'm a woman. What's wrong with me? Right. So there are all these factors that I'm working with.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I gave her my journal, she read, and she destroyed the myth I had, which is a good thing. Because the myth I had was, she will hate me, she will stop talking to me, she will do this, she will judge me, she will. And I know so many people fear sharing this because they think people will think of them differently, and she destroyed that myth. And that was the best gift I needed. She didn't know what to do with me, so we never talked about it. It's almost like there's a white elephant, but you're not talking about it. But her treatment of me, the way she loved me before is the same way she did after. And that for me was more healing than I would ever even like know, but that's what I needed at that point. So I continue with my journey. Some years I'm good. There's nothing to write in my journal. Some years, I remember like one day reviewing my journal somewhere, and I was like, oh, that's a saved journal. Because there are journals that could never be left in public because if anybody read.
What were you writing in the journals that were not?
So it's almost like my struggle. And there were more prayer than just my struggles. It wasn't like something I was going like, hey, today was this. No, it was almost like, God, I don't like this. I don't like this. And then there's self-hatred. There are all these things that I'm going through. So in 2011, my church brought someone to teach us on sex addiction. And I remember there were classes, and then there was counseling. And I was like, I don't need the classes. I know I'm sick. I know I need help. So I went for the counseling. And now the counseling brought the story of the beginning of the beginning. Like I said, there's a story behind the story. So my therapist then asked me, when was your first encounter with sex? And I'm going like, as a child, in fact, I was sexually abused. And this time I'm going like, it shouldn't be an issue, right? It's just sex abuse, stuff like that. But then all this anger and feelings come forth. I had never I knew I had experienced that. Because I remember in high school when you're talking about virginity and stuff like that, and I'm going like, wait, I think I lost mine several years ago. But of course you can't share that. So now we are talking about this thing that has been in the known, but never in the known.
Confronted.
Never confronted from that angle of actually what happened. What's your story?
Yeah.
So my story is that I have been, and I know when we think about sex abuse, we think about just the penetration. But anything, and this is where trauma comes in point, anything that happens to you and your brain cannot reconcile, that's trauma.
Wow.
And so when I'm at a neighbor's house and he calls me to his room, like I said, I was born in the village, and this man ejaculates on me. I'm not sure what's happening.
How old were you?
I can't remember. Let's say I was a child. Like, I could walk, and I was like, but I remember going home and thinking, why am I wet? Like that's what's going on in my brain. And I know we look at it from a point of, did penetration happen? And it didn't happen that time, but it happened sometimes later. It happened when we are praying tango and somebody is putting their fingers in me. There was just so many incidences.
What?
Yes. So like I said, there's a story behind the story.
Yes.
So when I'm sitting with somebody,
I'm sorry, I have to ask. You said you don't know how old you are, but roughly, do you think it was around 4, 5, 6, 7, or maybe at 10 years?
no, definitely not 10.
Younger?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
My
I'm
goodness,
so
Lord.
sorry.
Yes. So all this is happening, but you see, we don't talk about these things. We don't do anything in our community. But they are forming a mindset. They are forming my worth. They are forming my value. They are forming things that I didn't even know that were happening. And I think the worst part about sex abuse of any form of manner is that it erodes on the soul. I know we just look at it from the physical perspective, but what we do to the soul of this person when we remove that innocence, because we are not ready. And that's why, like when they say adult content, is because you are 18 and above, technically. And that means you can make informed choice. But anything below that, you can't make informed choice. And that's why technically you can't marry somebody who is 16 because the government doesn't see them as an adult who can make informed choices. I don't know if you're getting. So this is even younger than that. And all these things have been happening in my life going on. And like in so many society or families then, we went to school, we came home, we went to the farm. We never talked about emotions, we never talked about anything. Yeah. So it's almost like it's piling and piling and piling and piling. So when I discovered the novels,
oh, wow.
And in the novels, they are talking about this
love story,
passion, the passion, and you go like, oh my god, you can see why I was very attracted to this because it was a world that was safe, where the woman, especially in the romance, was seen, was not devalued, was loved, was desired, she was beautiful, she was all these things.
Oh my God.
And so this is now what I'm escaping to. And as I was telling Sharon, when you're looking at addiction, and everybody, I promise you, has one form or another, whether you're dealing with anxiety, we escape. Everybody escapes somewhere, somehow. It's just that I think in life we have cluster. This is worse than the other or stuff like that. But we are all escaping something. So, my daughter have disappeared.
You're talking about how now you were in high school.
Yeah. No, sorry. There's something I was telling her. Yeah. And I was saying we have to name it. It's not just like porn and masturbation issue. It's actually core issue recovery, because we have core. So when they're describing, like in counseling, when they're describing our core, the inside of the inside, they say it's like an onion which has so many layers, and you need to keep going down and down and down until you get to your core. So what we are recovering when talk about recovery is the core issues, the things that were originally there that were destroyed. It's almost like you're trying to recover them. And because especially when you're able to discover this is how I'm escaping versus, because that's not what you are. And sometimes, I will share that, like in my journey of recovery, I was trying to heal from porn. I wasn't trying to heal from the abuses I've been through, the abandonment that I have been through. I wasn't trying to heal from that. I was just trying to heal from porn. And that's why it doesn't work. When you just try to heal the behavior itself without dealing with the core issues. Because it's like a mango tree. Let me use that in season. When it's not mango season, they don't show up. But in season, they come back. They come back. And until you kill this tree, it will keep resurrecting. It will keep bearing fruit. And I think that started helping. So this I didn't learn very many years ago. I learned it the other day. But I thought, at least I forget. I need to put that out there. So now in 2011, I have gone for therapy. I'm feeling, and it wasn't like a long session. It was just this encounter with this person. And I'm crying for myself. I'm angry. I'm all these things. Mm-hmm. And then I go like, oh, I think I need to have a conversation with my mom.
Wow.
And so I go and tell my mom about being addicted to pornography. I don't think she understood what I was talking about then. But I also talked to her about being sexually abused.
Oh, gosh. How did that go?
Not good.
Oh, man.
And I'm understanding sex, especially for our parents, even for us, it's a very awkward subject, especially when you don't know what to do. When someone comes and tells you their beloved child has been was sexually abused many years. It didn't happen yesterday. So it's many years. So I'm talking over, 20 years plus, as far as I can tell. So I'm talking to my mom, and my mom goes like, oh, and then she tells me, she started giving me stories. I asked this person to never come back home because I discovered they do this. And then I'm going like,
was it a family member? Or someone close?
Someone close. But I'm saying it's not one incident.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm telling myself that now that I've dealt with that being abused, then it should be over, yeah? That's what I'm telling myself. But after sometimes it came back. And now when it came back, when I went back to coping, I remember feeling very self-loathing. I absolutely hated myself with every being. And I remember one day journaling and calling myself names, and my pen refused to write. And I'm going like, oh, thank you, Jesus, for that. Because honestly, I didn't think I was worth. So 2014 hits. I'm saying this because these are my landmarks. There's so much happening between this, but these are my landmarks. So 2014, I meet this couple, Juliana and Braddon. They came and this is the first time as a Christian. I gave my life to Christ in 2002. So this is 2014, 12 years later. And this is the first time I'm receiving discipleship. This is the first time I'm learning, literally, God loves me. Mm-hmm. And I'm going like, no, he can't. Because of what I've done. And I'm going like, no, he can't. And I believe that so powerfully that there was nothing that could change me from that. But then the beauty that happened in this season, it happened like I would say it was like those old traditional pots where you are in the middle, but like there's so much people speaking the same thing in your life until you go like, you know what? I think there's truth in this. Are you crying?
No, I'm sorry. No, it's just I just resonate with that feeling of feeling like God doesn't love you because you've done something so bad, and it's just so not true, Yeah. But I that's where it got me. Like,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. Please, I'm sorry. This is,
yeah. And so from then, if I may continue, I started almost learning what love is from God's perspective. And so there are some other factors like I have a career, I don't have a career, I have this, I'm not married, there are all these other factors that are in the background that are working within, and I'm going like, who am I? These questions I'm asking myself in this case. And so, like when I say it's a core issue, addiction recovery, it's because it's almost like you are being turned inside out and stuff like that. So you're dealing with so many things and layer after layer, and then you remember something else, and then you deal with this, and then something else comes. But what was so powerful was my identity as a child of God. not because of what I've done, not because of what I've accomplished, but just because I exist. And that for me was so profound. Learning to be like, there's no difference when I watch porn today and watch porn I didn't watch today. Because it's almost like we have this check mark when you say, oh, today I'm a good girl. Oh, no, today I've done something. And when so when you say today I'm a good girl, it's almost like, yeah, you're walking on the sky, you're doing these things, but the day you're not there, it's like you're underground. And I had to be like, you know what, the love of God does not change whether I watched porn or not. And that was even part of my recovery, going like, this guy, I remember calling God this guy. And I was like, oh, this guy is not impressed. He doesn't change with the way my parents change, the way my friends change. He doesn't have mood swings.
It's not conditional.
Yes, it's not conditional. And then I remember asking myself, then what am I doing? Like, I remember going like, what are you doing? It does not change his love for you or the lack of it. And I think that was such a profound moment when I began understanding love the way God is, because he is love. And never before had I had, it was always like, you're going to hell, you're going this, you're going this, you're going this. But when we look at the story of Jesus, he said he came for the sick. He didn't come for the healthy. It's people like me that he came for. It's people like, I believe, everyone in this world that he came for, because we all struggle with something. And it's sad that like we said, it was a taboo subject. Like we think they are clusters of sin, they are clusters of this, and we judge and we do this, and we don't understand. The other thing I want to mention is that our brain is an anticipatory machine. You know, when we're talking about Sharon, like being on the defense at one point in your life, it's because maybe you had experienced so much disappointment that you're like, okay, you have a shield around us. And I wear my shields very, very, very well, personally. Yeah. But sometimes you have to let go of the shield and let God just love on us, trust him. Let me go back to 2014. I remember 2014 deciding I'm done being a Christian. I can't keep this hypocrisy.
Really?
Yes.
Actually, let me stop you before you go to 2014.
Yes.
Before when you gave your life to Christ 2012.
202.
There's something you mentioned about, there's something you're talking about how when you're talking about addiction, that you have a date, it's like you have a date with somebody. So you would leave whatever you're doing and so I think that's what I'm trying to understand. How do we know what is addiction? For clarity's sake, because I know there are people who watch porn. So at what point is it a problem and what point is it not a problem?
Okay, I hope I use the right terminology.
In your experience,
let me use in my own words.
When did you say to yourself, okay, this is the problem?
Like I said, it was in 2008. I was lying. I wasn't showing up where I needed to show up. And I couldn't stop. Like when Sunday came in, it was almost something I did. It was almost guaranteed. And mind you, in church, I just thought, God, I'm never, ever, ever
doing this again.
Okay,
so that's where you knew there was an issue.
Yes.
When you're trying to stop and you can't.
Yes. But for anyone listening and you're wondering, am I? What have you, what's going on? First of all, is the preoccupation. How much energy do you take thinking about porn? Whether something you watched, what you're going to watch, and that excitement. Oh, today. Oh, there's that. Actually, and that's why it's addictive, because it helps. Like this dopamine excitement. Like it's something you're looking forward to. It's your best friend. It's a safe space. It's all these things. So it's something you actually look forward to. But then when you start seeing when you leave your virtual world and then come to the real world and see the demolition, the destruction your choices have made, when you lied, when you didn't do that job assignment, when you get fired because you're watching porn at work, or when you didn't meet a deadline, when you didn't do your assignment because you failed because you are busy doing these things. So when the reality of your actions when your virtual life or your escape start now interfering with your your real life and the actually physical consequences, I think everybody should call themselves for a meeting and go like, okay, I don't think this is helping my life. I think this is really destroying me. Yeah.
And when you talk about preoccupation and frequency, at the height of your struggle, what did that look like? How preoccupied? How frequent?
Okay, this some people might find it triggering. So when I began watching pornography, I started with
You don't have to go into details.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I just say there's a tolerance that is built.
Oh, okay.
So when you start with maybe normal stuff, and then you go to other stuff, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. That's what I say. That's in the time you spend there.
Like hours?
Oh, we had binging weekends, where you start, like the way you binge a movie, where you stop, you go for food, you go pee, you come back, you continue, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yes, so even the time gets worse. But you see, because this is a porn and a masturbation, it means you're looking for something to push you to the edge for you to have a masturbation, what have you. So you have watched everything, give or take. So you're looking for... lack of a better word, worse things, or more degrading, or more, things beyond your comprehension. So there's a tolerance that is being built. It's almost like alcohol. Let me give an example. I think you understand that. You find when you start drinking alcohol, at one point, maybe 1 glass or 2 glasses of wine makes you drunk, you're tipsy. But then the more you drink, you build a tolerance. So you need 3 bottles, you need, whatever. That's what it is. But now in this case is you're looking for more degrading stuff. And that's why over time, because of the tolerance people have built, they start looking for child pornography, which is a crime. Because you have seen everything. Everything.
So they're trying to satisfy
Yes.
bizarre degradation. Wow.
That is,
I know you
mind blown.
Somebody looking from outside will go like, what's wrong with that person?
No, but I get it. I get it because it makes sense. You're like, because what used to, like, is it why we scared of saying it? Arouse you, yeah. Porn gets you a little bit, stimulated.
Yeah.
But now you're just like, okay, we need more. Yeah. I think what's shocking me is actually the time spent on the fact that you're saying it can even be like a whole weekend kind of thing. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it gets worse. And then the other thing is the memory recall. So if you're doing other normal drugs, after sometimes the system literally pushes out of your body system. So if it's alcohol, after a day or 2, there's no alcohol in your blood, for example.
Right.
But there's something in pornography that is called memory recall. So right now, I have the capacity to just sit here and imagine a scene I watched and recall, not imagine, recall a scene I watched. I don't know. So how do you get that out of your system?
Damn. Wow.
But even with alcohol, I'm imagining, or alcoholism, see, you get your brain remembers how you felt when you were high. Drunk.
But you're not high.
It's physically not in your system.
It's not, yes.
Oh, so you can be in recovery and it's like I haven't drunk alcohol in 5 years.
Yes.
And you haven't drunk alcohol in 5
Yes,
years.
but for me, I can be in recovery for those 5 years.
But
I can remember.
Like the thing that you get high off of is so close proximity to you because it's in your mind.
Yes.
It's something you have to keep pushing.
Yes.
Right.
Now, the other thing is, as we talk about this, is the way you look life. So, numbers are numbers. But for someone in a porn addiction, 69 is not just a number. It says something else. someone without a shirt, someone, like anything can trigger you. You're just
okay.
And you never know what will. So all these things are happening, and you are supposed to be normal. And of course, you're not drunk. You're not sleeping in a trench somewhere. It doesn't show.
That's the part that
you're expected to be normal, and people think you're normal, and you're
show.
not.
It doesn't have a face to
Yes.
it, or a look, or a Besides, like it being prevalent among men, like there's no visible signs for it.
No sign. And now it's on our phones. You go to your room, you have internet. Every house almost has internet. It's actually very cheap in Kenya.
In fact, I heard Kenya is the highest country, I think, in the continent for porn consumption.
Yes.
In the world, it's like number 2 or 3, something like that.
We are good.
What? Yeah.
We are very good. But you also need to understand we have very cheap internet. I just came from Cape Town. Man, I had to apologize to God and say, by the way, I'm confessing all my sins I've complained about Kenya because this country is not doing good. We have very cheap internet. And we are tech savvy. And also there's this assumption that it's a young people thing, but in my experience,
really,
it's everywhere. Men, women, children, old, young, it's everywhere. But you see, nobody's asking you, Jury, how do you spend your time between this and this? How, like when you go to your room, everybody is very busy on their gadgets. What are we watching? What are we doing this? Like those questions need to start happening because it's very easy. It's available. It's anonymity. There's anonymity and it's I think accessible, like readily accessible. Because those days for VCR, can you remember the effort I took to bring this? Now I just need to go like, oh, no. So you go. And also it becomes a problem when you use it to medicate yourself. Let's say you had a bad day at work, or there's just crisis in your family, and you cannot handle that anxiety, you can't handle that anger, and you want to feel good quickly to regulate your mood, basically. Some people take alcohol, some people go to porn. That's why you know it's a problem when you start using it as your meditation. When you start meditating on it, then it's also a problem because it says you're too dependent on it. So there are very many signs.
Okay.
So there's preoccupation, there's the tolerance. Self-medicating, continuing with it even with the consequences. So you have people where they are married, for example, and let's say one spouse is into porn, the other one is not. And I'm not going to say it's women or men. Like in this time of age, it
can be anyone.
This story can be anyone's. So let's say a man finds his wife watching porn, and they discuss, we need to stop it, or you need to stop it. But because you're so into it, you end up losing that relationship. You end up losing your children. You end up losing. So you're continuing with it despite knowing what you are going to lose. So when I'm talking to couples, and one is into pornography, the other one is not, I want the other partner, and I don't think I'm even the best person to help them in this case because I'm the victim in this case, but I want the other partner to know it's never about them. But it's very hard to know where the line starts and where it ends. But it's never about you. As a partner, not in pornography, it's never about you. It's not about you're not attractive. It's not about that you are not what. It just says they have a problem and they need to be helped. It's never, oh, I'm not attractive. I'm not satisfying them. Whatever it is you are talking in your head, it's never that. And if somebody lets communicate that's the case, they're gaslighting you. It's almost like somebody having an affair and saying, oh, it's your fault, you didn't do this. No, that is a lie. there has to be ownership. This is a you problem, but it's affecting me. And I like what you are sharing earlier on when you said how people even, like, it just creates an aspect of selfishness and self-reliance and everything is self. So you don't need other people. You live in isolation. And even when you're married and you want kids and stuff like that, the self still come in play. And because you're so used to gratifying yourself, you know where to touch yourself, you know what to do. Can you imagine the impatience you're going with your partner who has no idea what it takes for you to actually where to touch? And sometimes we don't even we don't talk about sex. And sex has to be communicated. People have to talk about sex. And as partners, as a couple, go like, oh, I like that part you touched. Like learn. It's like a dance. Nobody, when you get partnered with someone else, you have to find your rhythm. And people have to find their rhythm. Do you know why? People need to find up their rhythm because of all things created in this world. There's nothing as pleasurable as an orgasm. Nothing. Like, no drug, nothing can get you to that level of pressure. You forget yourself, you forget your mother's name, you forget where you are, you forget you are stressed.
I mean, that's why sex, I don't know if it's sex sales or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, anyway.
Yes.
Sex is very, what's the word? Not entrepreneurial. Like it's, it can be sold and you can make money off of it and become rich of it. That's why there's an industry that exists. I forget the term.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is what I say. Let's protect the coming generation to the best of our ability. And this, I ask, if you have porn, you have a choice what to do with it as an adult. But please put your sites under lock and key. If it's on your computer, if it's on your phone. Because it's very sad when your niece or nephew go to your phone and you ambush them with this and they don't have the capacity to hold this information. Let's not destroy the coming generation. If we can protect them, then let's do that. The other thing I would want to ask is for people let me go to teenagers. Because we understand kids. Kids, we protect kids. But teenagers, we're like, they are adults, but they are not. So in our brain, there's people who have done neuroscience and what have you, please forgive me because I'm going to mess it up. But there's a point in our brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, where it develops as the last part, like in our mid-20s to late 20s. But that's the part of the brain that literally says, when you take this choice, this is the consequences. When you take this action, this is what is going to follow. When you don't go to work, I'll be fired. And once I'm fired, I won't have money for rent. I won't have this. That part of the brain develops in our mid-20s to late 20s. But now you introduce a kid, even let's say a teenage, to pornography, and they don't know exactly what they're doing. So now we want them to get children, to get married, to do all these things, and their parents are going like, what's going on? But all they know is this. And also the sad thing is people have become so, is the word indoctrinated?
Indoctrinated.
Yes. To the point now, even when people are raped, they don't recognize they have been raped. Especially if you are so into porn.
Wow.
Like you can't differentiate what is real, what is wrong, what is not real. So, for example, let's say, where did I hear this? Yes. So let me give an example of a child who is addicted to pornography, and kids are getting addicted to pornography. because they found their dad's stash somewhere, or uncle's stash or something somewhere. I know you're calling it stash.
Stash, yeah.
Because those days were like the Playboy magazines and stuff like that. So now we have folders in our phones or whatever it is in our phones. And this person cannot, but like I said, it's pleasurable. And it's very arousing for any person. So, and that's how we are created. Like God created us to enjoy sex. And I know, especially in the body of Christ, that it's almost like a place we don't go.
Yeah,
but I think it's
such
time we
taboo.
start going.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because we have all said we learned about sex, maybe other than me, from pornography. But you can imagine if a youth pastor was like, sex is absolutely enjoyable. So it prepares a parent, because I think in this today's world, it's not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And the kids need to be prepared. This is what you do. Stop watching this, come tell me. And then now discuss what the child went through without bashing them and telling them they're stupid or whatever it is that has been done to us in the previous generation. Then the other thing is process emotions. Don't pile up. And especially in our context here as Africa, we think that's a white man thing. No, or a westernized thing. Emotions are almost like I don't know how to call it. Almost like a warning sign. Something in me is being violated. And I think once we know that, it's easy to process them. So let's say you did something to me. You said something. What did it trigger in me? Or what in me got injured? And if I don't take time to process, I'll just be piling. And then, of course, when I can't cope, I'll go cope. When I can't process this, I go cope somewhere. So that's part of like the maintenance aspect of recovery. So it's almost like going north for so many years, and now you have to come back south, and being okay with that. So the way it is done is that our brains, their path that we start. It's like a forest where people there's a path, and we train our brain to follow that path. Now we are telling our brain, no, we have to develop a new path. And that means starting to take a machete or a caterpillar and start doing a new path. It's not easy. We want what we know. We want what we are comfortable with. And so that's part of what needs to be done for any person. That's what maintenance look like. It's knowing, if I don't leave my house, because nowadays we are working from home most of the time, if I don't leave my house in 2 weeks or something, if I don't talk to people in 2 weeks, and everybody has to get to find their rhythm, what actually means to be healthy.
Yeah, because it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
And, I'm curious about your book.
Yes.
As we bring the conversation to a close, because I know we can
talk
about this for hours. Maybe because I'm sure it really chronicles in detail what it's been like for the last few years. But in summary, what can people take away from it, and where can they find the book?
All right. So my book is called Love Unlimited, Set Free by a Greater Love. And like I said, one of the greatest things was finding that God loves me despite and in spite of every choice I've ever make, and I'm forgiven. And that was such a liberating space. So when I wrote my book, I had never had anybody share their story on pornography and masturbation as something they have struggled with. There were very many scientific books, but never the person's story. So this is a story that even people in alcohol have read and said, no, that was my story. You wrote my story. People in addiction have read my story and no, this is actually my story. You wrote my story. Because I feel like we have two people, one in addiction who thinks they are alone, and the other one who has no idea. Why can't they just stop? So this book is supposed to help those both people want to know. And I think that's what I've been doing all my life, being a voice to the voiceless, where those who are in addiction to know they're not alone in this. But if you need help, I am the person to talk to. I will guide you as I've learned, and we walk this journey. The other thing is for people who have never understood, why can't you just stop? For them to actually enter in the mindset of somebody and read the book and see the struggles. It's not like we are having nyama choma, and it's not like it's a party. It's actually a sorrowful, miserable journey that any person is.
You mean addiction?
Yes.
It's not
fun. It may seem fun, but it's not fun. The emotional anguish that I was going through was not fun or anybody, because that is where I want to be, but I'm here. And I can't seem to get myself out of this place. I want to, but I'm not able to. And what I'm calling for people is to help each other. Hear people's stories. Don't look at the behavior and say, oh, that person is this. Nobody becomes that without a story. There's always a story behind the story. So I think that's part of what
Wow.
I do.
Yeah.
I talk to people, like if you want me to talk to your youth people or even parents or stuff like that, I'm able to do that. But also if you're looking to recover, I can walk with you in that journey and give you some guidance. Yeah.
Where can people find you? Where can they get the book if they'd like to reach out?
So the book is, the easiest place to find the book is on Amazon.
Okay.
Like for either a paperback or Kindle copy. So just type my name, Ruth Njagi.
Yes, and we'll put the details in the description box, because now we have a description box.
Yes, and in Kenya, you can find the book from CLC, Nuria, I don't know exactly where the book is.
The bookstore?
Yeah, Nuria Bookstore, CLC bookstore. I know there's another one. But also, I also sell the books myself.
Okay,
Yes.
and we can put the details.
Yeah. I'll try to get them.
It's okay. You don't have to remember them now.
Yes.
We can give them to us later, and by the time we publish this episode, you'll have the details.
So my parting shot, if I may say.
I think Jules had a question.
I had a quick one.
Yes,
so
yes.
in now knowing all what you know now, does porn have any benefits? I mean, or is it all wrong? Not benefit, value, not value. But you know what I'm trying to say? Like, is it... Does any good come out of porn? You know, like, is it all bad?
Yeah.
The more I learn about porn, how the porn industry has created the trafficking industry where people are trafficked for sexual purposes, no, there are no benefits.
Okay.
As far as I can tell. Yes. It does make you forget. Like for a season, you forget you have troubles, but I don't think those benefits outweighs the consequences. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. Parting shot?
Parting shot is honestly. Where's the camera?
That's the camera.
I know I sound like a broken record, but God loves each one of us. And He's delighting to have a relationship with each one of us, despite what we have done. That is part of my parting shot. The other thing is, please don't die alone. There's help. Speak. Not to everybody, because not everybody is healthy for you, but look for safe people. Seek help. And if someone comes to you for help, I want you to remember the one thing you struggle with and how you would want to be treated. Treat this person the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruth.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, the insights. Like, for me, this has been such an illuminating conversation, and one that I've been hoping and wishing that the world could hear for many, many years, from back at the BBC when we weren't allowed to air this for their own reasons, and like, that's okay. But I'm glad that it's finally come to life. So yeah, Jules, thanks for being here.
And thank you so much, Ruth. More so for your boldness.
Kabisa.
A lot of people in addiction, they are living in shame, even when they're in recovery. It's like so it's such a big thing, especially this kind of addiction. It's also shed light on a lot of things. I think even my views on porn are definitely different after this conversation. I'm like, this thing can be a problem. Problem. You know what I mean? So I do appreciate you, and I wish you all the best. And I pray you continue to find the healing that you have found, and you're able to pour to others who need it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you guys for having me.
It's been amazing.
All right. Yeah, we'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this whole discussion. You can catch us on social media at It's Related, I promise. And yeah, let us know what are your thoughts. And remember, I guess this has been It's Related, I promise.
Hi, IRIP ladies. I hope you guys are well. I'm recording this from the diaspora. Just wanted to let you know that I'm the biggest fan. I always, I am excited to hear a podcast or listen to the latest podcast as I'm working on Fridays. It's a great start to my weekend. Just wanted to say your last episode on, reflecting back on 2023 really gave me time to kind of sit down and think about the year that was. And although it's been one of my hardest years, I would say, I've learned a lot. I got engaged, which is super exciting. There's a lot of wins despite the challenges, despite the valleys, a lot of peaks. So, it's been nice to have that kind of downtime to reflect. So keep up the good work. I'm going to keep listening to you all, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the year.